Temtem is a new creature collection MMORPG developed by a company called Crema and published by Humble Bundle after raising over $500,000 through Kickstarter. It's safe to say that since its launch on the 21st of January, Temtem has been a smashing success. Its immediate presence on Twitch, YouTube, and other video and streaming platforms is indisputably impressive, especially compared to other Kickstarter and indie MMORPGs that are often dead on arrival. To further expand on the idea of Temtem's triumphant entry into the open gaming market, a Steam database.info and Steam Spy's ownership estimates place Temtem's earnings well into the millions, and that's after accounting for the almost 12,000 Kickstarter backers that may have received their copy below the game's current $35 price point. It's really no secret that Temtem takes heavy influence from a certain pocket-sized monster title, one that ultimately defined gamer expectations of creature collection games in general, and this direct influence undoubtedly appears to have many players making the Pokebad Temtem Good comparison. So, considering the amount of buzz around this game, as a longtime Pokemon fan, I felt obligated to try it out. Diving right into character customization, I was really impressed by what Temtem offered. Sure, there were no sliders that allow you to customize the space between your eyeballs to the millimeter, but they allow you to choose from a variety of hair, eye, face, shirt, and pant options, plus each one of these choices could be customized on a spectrum of color that they provide. Once the character's appearance is settled, rather than a strict gender option, Temtem actually allows the player to designate specific pronouns and select the most fitting voice option. So once I made sure I was happy with my character, I hit finish and spawned in the village of Zadar. After a brief conversation inside with the mom of Temtem, the character is sent outside to be greeted by the town and sent off in celebration for what's known as an apprentice's eve. Here we're introduced to the rival Max, who honestly seems like a real turd right off the bat, and the Professor Konstantinos before heading off to the lab to pick out our first Temtem. When picking the first Temtem, I had to take into consideration which starter was the most popular, and I know I had seen gameplay of Huchik before, and one of my buddies on Twitch confirmed that that is really the most popular or the favorite starter Temtem. So I picked the monkey, Smazy. Honestly, this little guy is incredibly adorable, and to be honest, I had mistaken him for a fire type, but regardless of his melee typing or fire typing, I knew that this was the Tem to lead my Tem to victory. I was expecting a rival battle with Max, and sure enough, he delivered. I have to say, the trainer battle intros, the Tem summoning, and battle animations, they all look so frickin' amazing. So Max, he sent out his Tem Ori, which clearly was not a starter choice that was offered to me, but I was so pretty confident with the knowledge of how these first rival battles traditionally play out. I had a pretty good feeling that Smazy, who had been renamed Goku by this battle, would be coming out on top. As it turns out, my assumptions really could not have been any more wrong. So, Max one-shot Smazy, and in a far cry from its creature collection predecessors, Temtem starts you out with a big L after your first battle. The professor explains that Max had a digital Temtem, which are supposed to be super rare and powerful Tems, and then he tells me that I basically never stood a chance against it. But to make up for it, he gives me Toucan Sam, some Tem cards, Balm, and sends me into the wild to begin my apprenticeship. Before heading to the next town, I noticed an exclamation point on the minimap. Now, this ain't my first rodeo, and I know that these icons usually symbolize some type of quest giver. And sure enough, Temtem sticks with that formula. As a side note, one thing that I do enjoy about this game so far is that almost every interaction with NPCs will allow for some type of response choice. Even though there seems to be little to no consequence for the different choices yet, I mean, they usually end up leading to a battle regardless, the illusion of choice regarding the process of turning your character into a friendly Tem tamer or a traveling, walking, talking butthole adds a nice touch. and the space between major story events. So, having picked up my first quest, I take my 2 Tems and head into the unknown. The stretch of space between Zadar and your next destination in-game gives you more arbitrary RPG moments, but more importantly, it's loaded with battles, and this is where Temtem really shines. First and foremost, the stamina system is an amazing replacement for Pokemon's move point system. Each Tem is allocated a stamina value, and each move will use a preset amount of stamina. So rather than only being able to use Wind Blade a set 10 or 20 times, it can be used as many times as the Tem's stamina will allow. However, some moves use a massive amount of stamina, and they may lead to overexertion after just a couple of uses. Overexerting your Tem will damage it and force it to rest or be switched out, but stamina recovers at a pretty fair rate following a period of rest, so as is, the system feels pretty balanced. Overall, my experience with stamina forced me to think a little more strategically and really made each move, especially the heavy hitters, feel more purposeful. The stamina system also gives you the freedom to continue to use your favorite Tems during long stretches of battles and travel between towns, because you won't have to constantly go back to replenish the move points like you would in other creature collector titles. Aside from the stamina system, one of my favorite features of Temtem battling is the fact that every battle that I encountered is either 2v2 or 2v1. This allows you to build team synergy right from the beginning of the game. One of my favorite things to do is stacking one opposing Tem at a time. But it does go both ways, and some of these early battles can be unforgiving. As an example, one of my first battles, this trainer throws in 2 Pig Epic. First time I've seen these Tem, I have no idea what to expect. Sure enough, they stack out my Smazy, leaving Toucan Sam to fend for himself until I can get back to the town to heal up. Fortunately, my boy here had Shrill Voice, which is a move that can attack 2 opposing Tems at one time. It really came in clutch and made sure that I was actually able to make it out of this battle. On my way back to heal, I finally ran into a Tem that I had to catch. I needed this Pajaro on my team. So I had 2 objectives. 1, get Tataru out of the way. 2, add this cute little bird to my squad. After healing the squad, it was basically more the same the rest of the way through this first route. Lots of battling, which led to lots of time to reflect on the systems that Temtem offers to its players. Stamina and 2v2 battles being the default format start to carve out Temtem's own unique place that differentiates it from Pokemon all on their own. But one of the biggest differences is the absence of RNG-based battle mechanics, like critical hits, accuracy, and randomized status durations. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think no critical hits would make a huge difference. I mean, it certainly wasn't one of Temtem's selling points for me, but seeing it in action, it was pretty nice knowing that the damage that I give and receive is going to be based on Temtem stats, move power, and typing. Not a random occurrence that says I can magically do more damage whenever the random number god sees fit. Accuracy and status duration both follow along the same vein. It's nice knowing that your Temtem's moves are going to hit. And also, when your Temtem gets poisoned or is put to sleep, you're given a predetermined number of moves that it will be affected by that status. So you can strategize, you know when you're going to be able to use your Tem again, or when it's not going to take damage every turn due to poison. That's actually kind of nice. This route was actually starting to feel like a grind. It's not that it was all that difficult, just kinda tedious, and being guilty of making the Temtem Pokemon comparison, this actually came as a surprise. These mid-route convenience stores are lifesavers though, and really help to rejuvenate my drive to finish out this grind. Despite any convenience offered, one issue that I kept running into is the conflict of balm price and income from Tem battles. I don't know if it's just me, but income feels low compared to the price of items in these shops, which added another layer of difficulty, considering I had to manage Tem medicine and trips back to the center while still trying to make progress to the next town. But this is still very early in the game, so only time will tell if this starts to feel a little bit better towards the higher levels. Eventually, I had my first run-in with Temtem Evolution. Oh! So soon! What? That was pretty cool. After Pajaro evolved, the squad really started to hit its stride. I added a Tataru to my group before reaching the next town, and apparently it had a perfect speed SV, which is a can of worms that I haven't even tried to open yet. And this duo, but mainly Manu Paharak, carried me all the way to Bricol Damar. I knew this first route was coming to a close, and honestly, it felt like my squad had already been through so much. Sure, parts of it were tedious, but when I finally reached my destination, it felt really good. If this first tiny fraction of the game is really any indication, then the developers have been doing a fantastic job of balancing the grind with little bits of reinforcement along the way. And I am genuinely excited to unpack more of what this game has to offer. So the question becomes, is Temtem really better than Pokemon? Honestly, it's still to be determined. It still hasn't been fully developed, and even though I lucked out and did not experience any of these issues, things like server instability have really affected player experience early on. Also, considering it is an MMO, it's bound to take on a games as a service model in some form, which is kind of a different beast compared to Pokemon, although upcoming Pokemon DLC will be determining how well that statement ages. And a creature collection game like Temtem could be very prone to predatory monetization practices. Crema has spoken out about Temtem becoming pay to win on their Kickstarter, saying they will never sell Temtem, items to help you in battle, or experience boosts. But what about things like breeding? Maybe items that will allow for a greater level of fertility to be replenished, or items that increase your chances while Luma hunting. Crema has also talked about the scope of other MMOs like World of Warcraft and Terra, compared to their plans for Temtem, stating their vision is a lot smaller than that, and the associated raids, enormous dungeons, guild wars, and that they will focus on their story-driven campaign with some online elements around it, which doesn't sound all that bad. It just has me slightly worried about the longevity of the MMO aspect of Temtem and its ability to maintain a player base. Really, all of my worries about this game and any characteristics that would contribute to a negative comparison to Pokemon are centered around speculation of the game's future. The reality is, what we have is an excellent glimpse into the start of a franchise with a lot of potential, and a product that is well worth the current $35 price point on Steam. The art, animations, and overall aesthetic of Temtem is incredibly charming, almost giving me Wind Waker vibes in some of the environment and character design. The battle system feels fair and allows more room for strategy. The gameplay loop associated with traveling between towns and quests feels like a grind, but in a good way that will ultimately reward the player in the end, I'm definitely planning on playing much more of this game and would love to share it with you guys on YouTube. Let me know what you think about Temtem, how your first 2 weeks in game have gone, and what you hope to see come to the game. Also, be sure to like the video, subscribe, and let me know if you want to see more of my journey through Temtem. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.